We are speaking with Dr. Yonatan Freeman of the Department of Political Science at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. So how would you sum up Donald Trump's first 100 days in office?
Well, I think that his first 100 days is really a full court press when it comes to trying to push ahead and push forward many of the policies that he talked about during his campaign. We've seen many executive orders. We've seen a lot of seeking to persuade the public, his media appearances, the fact that he's very approachable when it comes to media and giving answers to many questions. So I think that in terms of the 100 days, I would sum it up as having a lot of motivation and eagerness to get a lot of the things that he promised done. And I think the main focus really is his legacy, because this is his second term, his final term. So I think it's all about putting into stone the legacy that he wants to be known as once he finishes his term in office.
Going back to the election campaign, we remember a lot of voters saying that for them the most important thing was the economy. They hoped that Trump's victory would bring about an improvement in their lives. Now, according to this week's poll, we see 72% of Americans believe a recession is likely. It seems that the Trump magic hasn't lasted that long.
Oh, I think it's really too early to say. I think that his main policy change is when it comes to the tariffs, and the fact that this has drastically impacted the stock market, drastically impacted the way people view the American economy as being from the onset something that's more or less without tariffs over the decades really of its existence in modern times. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty, which has led to maybe that figure of maybe most Americans thinking a recession is coming about. But I think that what really is we have to see is how the long-term wise, this change of policy when it comes to how trade relations are going on, and what comes about when it comes to trade agreements that might come about as well because of this tariff war that's going on right now. I think that Trump believes, and many of the people around him, that will lead to a greater strength in the American economy, making jobs, getting costs down, and getting more revenue to the government to have the ability to push forward many programs that in the end will make the American public more at ease and more happy about this change of economic policy.
Coming to foreign affairs, the focus for now seems to be the three main deals that Trump is trying to clinch. Gaza, of course, ending the Russian-Ukrainian war, and a nuclear deal with Iran. But there's no sign of a breakthrough yet on any of these three efforts. He could be facing major defeats on all of these three major issues.
Well, I think you are correct. Those are three major issues that he's focusing on. I think that we're seeing a very strong hands-on approach, a really personal approach, with Witkoff going everywhere and different envoys of his going everywhere and trying to get a deal struck. But I think that in the end, success is what happens long-term wise when it comes to these areas in the world. And I think the current focus is really trying to get diplomacy to work. That's one of the options on the table. But if it doesn't work, there might be other options, military-wise, on the table, which would also lead to a better reality in those areas. So I think it remains to be seen as to if it's successful or not, generally speaking. And I think it's also too early to tell whether or not agreements will be put forward in these arenas. I think we saw during the Pope funeral, we saw meetings that he had with Zelensky at the Vatican and also other leaders in Europe. So this was also a good opportunity to try to push forward maybe some negotiations, personal negotiations with regards to these issues. So on the one hand, you are correct. We're not seeing a lot of successes, but on the other hand, we are seeing a lot of personal motivation and a hands-on approach to try to solve these issues.
I think it's fair to say that according to most Israelis, they believe that Trump is good for Israel. Do you think this is the case?
Well, I think that most Israelis first off believe that a strong America is good for Israel. And I think that the way Trump is marketing or explaining his steps is something that's not just good for Israel, it's also good for America. And I think that America believes and Trump believes that a more peaceful world is something that's good for everyone, especially for America, and in lowering the opportunities for America to have to intervene somewhere in the world. So I think it's good. I think that they also like the fact that he has a lot of warm words and a very strong relationship with Netanyahu, which probably is something good for the country if you have a strong relationship with the country's leader. But then again, we have to remember that Trump is first off the leader of America. And when it comes to Gaza, or especially when it comes to Iran, there might be a deal that we won't be 100% for, and the public won't be 100% for, because in the end he represents the interests of Washington, not Jerusalem. But I think generally speaking, he's seen as a very a good individual who has a very pro-Israel mindset. We're seeing what he's doing with the campuses in the United States, what he's doing with other things related to Israel when it comes to also him wishing to expand the Abraham Accords. So on the one hand, yes, he's very favorable. But on the other hand, I think that many Israelis realize that first off, he has to think about the interests of his own country. And that's not always the case, 100% the case, when it comes to being something that Israelis can accept full time.
Going back to finally to U.S. Domestic affairs, the Democrats, after an emphatic defeat, appear to still be shell-shocked. Well,
I think, yes, we're seeing a lot of challenges that the Democratic Party is having right now. The day after Trump's win and the day after their loss, they have to do a lot of soul-searching, a lot of searching for new leadership. We're seeing many names coming about in terms of current politicians, in terms of people on the outside. But I think they have a lot of work to do to try to sell something else to the American people, which isn't vote for me because I'm not him. That doesn't work. And I think that they have a lot of time to focus on that issue and trying to find new leadership, a new agenda. And I think that also has to do with whether or not Trump in the end succeeds in some of the things they're claiming he won't succeed in, on the domestic front, on the foreign policy front. But if you look again in his first term, we look at things like the Abraham Accords, for example, highly successful, and the fact that they're probably going to be expanding very soon. I think that's something that maybe the Democrats have to think about maybe supporting and saying, yes, we have a disagreement with Trump on ABC, but we support him on this issue. I think this would show that they are thinking about the good of America, not just how they can get elected, and also allow them to maybe focus on different issues which maybe indeed Trump is failing on them, and not focus on things which Trump can also be seen as someone successful in them.